Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. Happy post-Super Bowl Monday. Now it's basically full speed toward the trade deadline, which is, I believe, 3 weeks from today, the 24th of February. It's on a Monday, which is unusual. Usually, wasn't it on like a Tuesday last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have a lot of weekend rumors. I know I'll be up in Toronto for a couple games the weekend before, so that'll be exciting. But we've got a lot of news today and some interesting speculation. But we'll start with our post-Super Bowl pre-show, and I'll start with this. I'll take the plunge, even though I maintained my tradition of not watching the halftime show. The only time I watch the halftime show is when it's a musical performer I really like. So if it's McCartney or U2, I'm going to watch. Mm-hmm. I think Shakira is beautiful, but I don't like her music. And J-Lo, okay, whatever. So I watched hockey fights during the halftime, and only afterward did I see, and I retweeted this morning, the gift that will keep on giving for the entire year of Shakira like wagging her tongue to the camera, and the booty shake in stereo of the two ladies. I honestly, it's like, I don't know what the Super Bowl is thinking, and maybe they're not thinking about family viewing or whatever. I don't have kids, but it's just, really, it's like, it's just, I don't get it. I think it's a little too much. And there was, like you said, Russ, a stripper pole for the halftime is a little much.
Yeah, look, I don't have kids either, but at 8 o'clock on a Sunday, kids should probably not be watching anyhow. So that's probably what they're thinking.
But it's
they don't care, or they don't care, and that's, if they don't care, they don't care. Right. I personally don't care. I didn't think the show was good though. I thought Shakira was lip syncing. I thought the stripper pole. Yeah, J-Lo's got a movie coming out, so she's showing us what she can do on that. Fantastic. Neither are a great performing act. They're okay. I don't think it's the right audience, and I never have. And again, I thought it was the worst show they've ever had. Now the lights look great, but there's like 1,000 dancers. Imagine if one tripped, they would have not all fallen down like dominoes. Like, it's just, I don't know who they're. It always seems like the halftime show is geared for like 20-year-old women, and I don't know why, because that's really not who's watching or paying attention at that time. So, I don't even care if you put on a K-pop band. I would at least say that's better than what I saw. But
yeah, put One Direction on or something.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. It's like,
that's probably better than what we saw.
And don't get me wrong, like Goalie FP in the chat, Shakira is gorgeous. I'm not making any comment on, she's beautiful.
That's obvious.
Right. She's drop dead, but I'm talking about, what they're doing on stage. Apparently, like I said, I didn't watch it or listen to it, but apparently the songs that they did were all like, it was like their greatest hits. It wasn't like, right. I don't know if Shakira has had any hit in the last decade or whatever.
No. And she did her 3 seconds of Cashmere like every other band does, which I'm no longer excited by or care about.
Right. So, I don't know. Now, moving off that,
she was playing a piece of rope too at one point. Like, it got that absurd.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
If anybody thinks she was playing the drums or playing the guitar in what you heard.
Yeah. Who do you think you are? Sheila E? It's like,
it's just weird. Like I said, it's just, I didn't like it, but I did write an article about the broadcast, because it felt like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck were competing for airtime. Right. They never let a second pass without one of them having a long-winded, obvious, most everything we heard were obvious things. And that was the part that was really driving me crazy. Aikman a couple of times said a few good things, but also a couple of times called things that weren't there. Like, oh, there's a flag. Well, there wasn't a flag. Like, it's just, it was a very confusing performance, and these guys have worked together a long time. And my takeaway from it, and people can read the whole article on Sportsology, but my takeaway is they probably shouldn't work together anymore, because there's no magic, there's no chemistry. It was just really bad, and it made everybody think Tony Romo is absolutely the best in the sport now. That's all that proved, and Tony Romo didn't have to do anything.
Didn't Aikman say something about like one of the offensive or defensive linemen had yellow gloves, and every time he saw the yellow gloves, he says, "I thought there was a flag that was."
Yes.
I mean, oh my God! It's like I
know it was just like there was moments like that. There were moments like where Joe Buck would say, and this isn't verbatim, but he would be like, "Well, Pat Mahomes is wearing number 15," like, and we all would just scream like, "We know that!" Like, it's just, why are you saying this?
See, I have less a problem with Buck because Buck is just an announcer. It's like
he tries to be more, Mike.
I think you know what? I think he tries to be more because who his broadcast partner is. Aikman is not very insightful. Now, I heard something this morning about apparently, if Drew Brees retires, like they're gonna be people bidding on him to be like the next Romo, and Romo is a free agent, so he might go to Fox. And
no, he's not. He's probably not going to
ESPN.
No, what I heard that they probably will do with Romo to keep him is put him on the PGA Tour, like the Masters.
Yes, he's going to do a Pat Summerall. That's what he's going to. Yeah, because he's a really good golfer. But and just
now, speaking of Pat Summerall, I did put up, and I'm not a big fan, but to show how bad the broadcast was, Frank Caliendo did a John Madden Pat Summerall when Mahomes ran for a touchdown. That was better than anything we heard in the game. Yeah,
but you know what? Honestly, I think Frank Caliendo could be the most unfunny. He's like Rich Little. If Rich Little,
I agree. But all that,
over in his grave.
But what he did was he proved that those fake voices were better than the real people we were hearing.
Well, and they were also pointing something out on apparently. The Fox broadcast took, and this will be the last point, the Fox broadcast took a page from ESPN, like the college game day thing where they had people like screaming and cheering behind the broadcast. And you've got all these octogenarians like Jimmy Johnson and Bradshaw on there, and they're being distracted and they're yelling into the microphone. And it's just, I mean, they sound like old men. We're like, oh, well, Terry. I'm like, I don't need to hear that.
Well, I'll tell you what was worse. And I mean, they only had 2 minutes to recap at halftime, right? That's literally all they gave them. They went around and they set it up for Terry, and Terry didn't even pick up his mic. And then he picked it up. He goes, "Oh yeah, I guess I'm supposed to give commentary." And by the time he said what he said, they basically cut off the air. Like they were like, "All right, we got to go." Like it was just, it was horrible.
Let's finish with this. To me, the best commercial was the Groundhog Day. Bill.
Yeah, that was the one I was looking forward to most, and the payoff was great. I really hated the Planners one. I hated it with every fiber of my being.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. The Snickers hole.
Wesley Snipes was in there.
Oh, yeah. The Snickers hole one was terrible.
Terrible. Like, that is really ill-conceived and not funny. There were some good ones, though. I missed one or two good ones. I really appreciated the guy who spent the $6 million to raise money for the place that saved his dog's life. That was a cool one.
Yeah, the Sure commercial was bad.
You know what was a great one? The self-driving, was it the Hyundai, the self-parking one?
Yeah, with
everybody did a fake Boston accent
with Chris Evans and
with Krasinski and Chris Evans. That was fantastic.
Yes,
that was probably the second funniest that I saw.
Yeah, and there's one really bad one that I'm just slipping. By the way, how much money did the Marvel Universe spend? Oof. And I'm telling you, like, for people who love those movies, they tantalized people with Loki and with Black Widow and with I thought the Wonder Woman one looked the worst of all.
No, I still don't go by that. I think it's going to be really good. But the one that they really teased you with was the Captain America prequel one, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that one is like, I'm holding off with the Disney Plus, but if they come up with one or two others, I may have to go with it.
Yeah. All right, let's start the show because there's too much hockey stuff to talk about. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, February 3rd, 2020.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the day the music died, right? This is the day Buddy Holly.
Sounds about right. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's, and I'm Michael Lagello.
Big Bopper, Richie Havens.
No, Richie Valens.
Richie Valens, sorry.
And
Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie was fantastic. The Buddy Holly movie. that dealt with a lot of that was great.
Just a 5-second departure here. I found out after the fact that the Buddy Holly movie and La Bamba were highly tweaked. I mean that I mean the Buddy Holly story is not the what happened in the movie. It's actually
the music's good. The one thing that held up
Busey was great in that movie.
Yeah, Busey was really good. That was when he was sane, but the music was really good. Like even when I was a kid hearing that, and it was like 20-something years old, it had no problem aging, and it still doesn't. Some of those songs are ageless.
Yeah, and the way he performed them were great.
Yeah, he was really good.
And Lou Diamond Phillips lip synced, so it was Los Lobos who did the soundtrack.
That's right. Yep.
Anyway, okay, big news that came out. You have to give Frank Saravelli credit for the report.
You have to, or.
Yeah. Yes, I have to because
I'm just checking the wording on that, Mike.
No, because he reported it. Doesn't say you have to give it because he reported it.
So are you saying? So wait, are you saying that if somebody else reported it, you would rather give that name?
No, I would give them equal credit. I would say I have to give credit to
whoever reports it.
Whoever reported it. Okay. Yeah,
got it.
But Frank Saravelli reported that the Winnipeg Jets and Dustin Byfuglien are going to be working on a mutual termination of his contract. Now, Byfuglien has another year. I believe it's in the $7 million range. I think it's 7.3 or 7.4. I'm looking it up as we speak here. Let's see here. Byfuglien is 7.6. Okay, so 7.6 for the rest of this year and next year. I mean, obviously the Jets have sort of been stuck in limbo, and there's been a case between the PA and the NHL. I think this is the settlement that'll make all the parties happy. Byfuglien will become a UFA once the terminate. This is the same solution as the Kovalchuk deal.
Well, it's a solution, but it's a solution that no other club is going to want to do down the line. And so I think they're going to be even tougher on the players now with these kinds of situations because they're just trying to make it go away so they can get cap space. Let's be real, right? That's what they're doing. But in the future, they are really going to keep tabs on players and making sure they're going to their doctors, or I think it's going to come out a lot worse than this. I think Byfuglien's getting off easy here because he hasn't had to play and he got paid for what? He's going to get paid for part of this season?
Well, it's half a year, so if you prorate it, it's probably $4 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, we could all say that, the Winnipeg Jets have a lot of money, but Byfuglien didn't do the right thing here. He didn't.
Well, the difference between the Kovalchuk and Byfuglien is that Kovalchuk was 35 and over, so there was no cap relief for the Kings.
Right.
There is cap relief here for the Jets. They mutually terminate. He's a free agent, and he gives up. It's like the Patrick Berglund situation.
I get that, but what I'm saying is Byfuglien technically went against the rules with what he did.
No doubt.
That's a problem.
I think if this would have gone to court or whatever, the independent arbitration, Byfuglien would have lost because once he signed at the end of the year after he was medically cleared that he was fine, and then he comes back and said he had a hockey injury. I mean, then apparently the exit medical is extremely important when it comes to liability about injuries, because if the player comes, if they check him out and everything is fine, and then all of a sudden he comes back in September and he has a broken leg, well, then the team says, well, he didn't have a broken leg when he got medically reviewed after they lost to St. Louis in the first round. Now, remember, he had missed a large part of the end of the regular season with, I think it was a high ankle sprain, and then he came back and he played pretty well in the playoffs. They lost in 6 games, and I know because I had Byfuglien in my fantasy hockey pool. But there's no way that injury was 100% healed, but he was medically cleared, and I don't know what he says. This is the problem. Nobody knows what exactly the injury. He had surgery.
Right.
Nobody knows exactly what the extent of the injury, or if it was different from what happened at the end of the year. All I know is that Winnipeg. Now, okay, take it from the Byfuglien side. He's a free agent, And I've already had Leaf fans direct messaging me on Twitter saying the Leafs should go after him. He can't play. He's hurt.
Right.
He just had surgery, I think 5 or 6 weeks ago. He's probably not in shape. This is for him next season if he wants to continue to play. He's a UFA. He can go anywhere or he can retire. For Winnipeg, the benefits here are before the deadline. They're desperate
before the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, Pullman's been out. They've had to call up guys like Sammy Niku. They've been playing shorthanded on the blue line all year, and they've not been able to spend that $7.6 million. Now they have that cap space. They can go out and trade for rentals.
I mean, really, what Bufflin has really uprooted this team this season. He has.
And it's a miracle that they are close enough to the playoffs that they still have a chance.
Right. I mean, that's a testament to the players and to the coaching, but this situation's been bad. It's good that it's coming to an end, but I'm telling you, we're not going to see another one of these situations. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I bet you there'll be something in the CBA. Maybe they'll eliminate mutual terminations.
Something will change here, and it may not even be with the CBA. Maybe before that.
Yeah, if the two sides can agree, but they never seem to want to agree on anything. So, in terms of Bufflin, I don't think you're going to see him the rest of the year.
I don't think we're going to see him again. I don't.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think so, because I think the problem here is he's going to have to get fully healthy, right?
Right, I'll have to get back into shape.
And by then, I think he's going to be far out of hockey shape. And then I think when he's trying to get into hockey shape, he's going to lose the urge.
Right. And if you think about it this way, if they do settle it and he gets the money up to the point that he actually terminates the contract, $4 million is a nice going away present.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see him again. That's my gut feeling.
Okay. All right, let's talk about some games on the weekend. I'll start with Toronto and Ottawa. I was in Toronto. Could have been one of the more boring games of the year, but the Leafs will take the 2 points. They win 2-1 in overtime on a Mitch Marner goal on a power play. Michael Hutchinson played pretty well, made 24 saves. But when we were talking about this before the show, Russ, I still think that there is interest in Toronto in upgrading in goal. I know that one of the reporters after the game asked Hutchinson whether, him playing well the last few weeks will put to bed the speculation about the Leafs needing an upgrade in goal. And he says, I'm not in control of that. I can just do what I can do, which is play as good as I can. And then, if they want to make a change, they can make a change.
Right.
So, I mean, from his point of view, I think that's valid and a good point of view. But the Leafs are in a tight playoff race, and they're going to need to rest Anderson at times, and they cannot risk if Hutchinson takes a drop again. Those are points that are extremely valuable going on the stretch.
Yeah, no question. They're going to shelter Hutchinson. They're going to try and replace him, but I don't think they'll go to great lengths. I don't think they'll try and give the Rangers what they're asking for Georgiev. I think that's a pipe dream for Leafs fans and people who think that. They'll try and get somebody cheap. If they get them, great. If they don't, it's like any other team. It's like your favorite NFL team. If you have to worry about the backup winning it for you, there's very few Nick Foles out there, and usually it's not going to happen. So that's the way it's going to be with the Leafs right now. It'll be Anderson or bust. They'll go for the other piece first that they need, and it probably will be on defense, like you said.
Right.
And then if they can get it, great. If they can't, at least they've fortified their team as much as they can, and they'll go and they'll run towards a playoff run with that. And that's where you're at this year.
And I'll write about this more tomorrow, but I found the wording very interesting. And on Saturday, Chris Johnston from Sportsnet indicated that the Leafs may trade for a defenseman, but it's going to depend on the progress of Morgan Rielly and how Rasmus Sandin plays. Now, Rasmus Sandin is playing pretty well, but against Ottawa, the Senators took a few runs at him. They're testing him out. He's a 19-year-old kid. They want to see if he maintains his composure, or they can force him taking giveaways, and that's natural and that's understandable. Riley was scheduled to be back middle of March. The season ends, I think, April 4th. That's 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's very possible that, because they said they will reevaluate in 8 weeks. It's very possible that they could say, okay, Morgan, you're going to stay out the rest of the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to trade for rentals. We're going to use your money on LTIR. And then, like Patrick Kane a few years ago, he will come off LTIR in time for the playoffs.
The only risk in that is, as a defenseman, the timing and stuff of that position, he could be kind of rusty. That's the only risk.
Right, and he's going to have to probably ramp up and practice and get back up to speed, and they won't be able to bring him back for a game or two, because if they do that, if they go in the rental market, then they're not going to be able to give him a game or two to practice. Anyway, getting off the Leaf page, you watched Washington, Pittsburgh. I didn't catch most any of it, but I caught a few minutes of it. But that is a battle. We know that those two teams hate each other. We know those two teams are massive competitors. They won Stanley Cups 3 straight years between the two of them. You think that rivalry is back on, don't you?
Oh, no, it's definitely back on. I mean, there's a few games in my life I've seen where I felt like injuries really affected a team. Rangers, Tampa, I remember Ryan McDonough testing out his foot or his ankle before that game.
Right.
Wasn't great. I believe he went in that game anyhow, and Tampa won, and they moved on. Pittsburgh, same thing. I saw Kessel warming up. He didn't look great. He played in that game against Washington.
Right.
He wasn't anything in that game. Washington beats them. They go to the Cup. They win the Cup. I just have a feeling Pittsburgh is close to having their number again, unless Washington does something at the deadline. Change it up, because Pittsburgh just seems like they have the momentum going. The goaltending's right. Malkin's playing very well. He's hitting people. He was very physical in that game. And so now it's like, if you've got Crosby healthy, which you do, because he did the right thing with the core injury, went right in for surgery, and he looks really good. Right. You got those two going right. You've got maneuverability for the cap, so they can pick up guys at the deadline. Right. And you've got Murray playing at the top of his game. That's a tough team to beat. It really is.
Now this is the situation with Pittsburgh. They have not put Gensel on LTIR yet, but when he had surgery on his shoulder, they basically said he's out for at least the rest of the regular season. So that's $6 million that they can move to LTIR and open up space.
Right.
Dumoulin's on IR, so is Bukestad. I believe both of them are going to be back before the end of the year, so they can't do anything with them. But if they can move Galchenyuk, and it probably would cost them something, unless there's somebody out there that thinks that he can be a reclamation project, or they want to take a they could even sell him as a rental someplace else if some team thinks that they can get him to perform better. Then they have $10 million in cap space.
Oof.
And that's that is something. Now, if with that, Rutherford is known as somebody who will go out and make the deal, and they've got a window with Crosby, Letang, and Malkin all playing right now. And you have to say that Matt Murray, I believe they said it was said that Matt Murray has won 5 games in a row. I know he played well against the Caps. If now you have both Murray and Jarry playing well, then that increases your chances when you're Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no question. So I think those are a lot of things going right now in their favor, and this is the way they play defense now is the best I've seen them play defense in a long time.
Right. And according to Cap Friendly, Washington has $3 million in deadline cap space. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's another defenseman, because right now, and I think that's where they're going to go. In spite of how great Carlson is playing, you have Orlov, you have Kempny, you have Jensen. That's fine. Gudas is a expiring contract. He's a playoff performer. Their number 6 defenseman right now is Jonas Siegenthaler.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could be the one who goes for a Dylan DeMello or a Ron Hainsey or one of those, like a veteran guy who's out there. Maybe get the team to retain salary, but I think they could use a defenseman. I think they're deep enough at forward that they can survive.
No, I agree.
Okay. This is what we're going to do. A little bit of a game here, not predicting where the player is going to go, because honestly, it can be anywhere. You don't, it
can't be the AHL, Mike.
but it's like, do I know definitively where Brendan Dillon's going to go? No, I don't.
And he doesn't either. And
maybe Doug Wilson doesn't know where he's going to go. It's going to be
at this point in time, he doesn't.
Yeah, it's going to be whoever offers the best deal. And that might happen closer to the deadline. That might happen tonight. So, but what we're going to do is we'll take like 6 or 7 of the sought after deadline guys and predict not where they're going, but for how much the team trading for them is going to have to pay. Now, we'll start with Kovalchuk because he's played great in Montreal. He's increased his value. There's been a lot of speculation that which I think would be absolutely stupid, that Bergevin is going to keep him past the deadline. I don't
understand why, but okay.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're lying to yourself if you think that you're in the race right now. I know that they beat Buffalo, they beat Florida 4-0 on Saturday. I think they're 8 points behind, but it may be more. I'm looking up right now.
I mean, he might call the Leafs and try and get a couple seconds.
Yes, but the Leafs could trade him back. Thomas Plekanec. That's right, he's retired. Montreal's got 55. Excuse me. Carolina is in second. The second wild card was 63, and Toronto is in third place in the Atlantic with 63. Montreal, though, has played 2 more games than both Carolina and Toronto. So that means even if they win half of the points, they're down by double digits. They're down by 10. Right. So right. I think they're out of it. I think that's where that's the point they're operating from. But the question is, with a $700,000 cap hit, a league minimum deal, and Kovalchuk playing well, how much will a team interested in Kovalchuk have to pay? And I think it's going to take a second-round pick.
Yeah, I think it's a second-round pick or a B-level prospect.
If I'm a team, I'd rather take a second-round pick than a B-level prospect.
Depends on the team. There are some teams, like if you're the New Jersey Devils, how many draft picks can you compile when you actually need players? If you were them. So I look at the Canadians the same way, and I say, I think they're at the point where they need a player more than they need picks.
Yeah, but the thing is, they have the cap space next summer, and they can trade those picks to get players like they did.
Yeah, but it's not as easy as it sounds. And if they could get a player now,
there's going to be a lot of teams looking to dump salary because that's what happened with Ottawa. That's what's happening. Couldn't happen again with New Jersey. They took all $9 million of PK Subban and gave up a 3rd round pick and Steven Santini. So I think they can do that again. It's just how well did that work for the Devils this time around? It didn't.
No, but I'm not going to throw dirt on that yet. It could work out better next year. It could.
Right. Okay. I know that Eck mentioned Craig Anderson. I've seen him play a couple times recently. He played really well on Saturday, made over 30 saves against the Leafs, played pretty good against the Sabres last week. I think he's got something. I still think he's got something left. His cap hit though is over $4 million. I think it's 4.7. I'm just looking it up here. Yeah. And I think is going to be the problem because most teams can't afford that as a backup. I mean, I think 4.75. I think that Ottawa will retain salary to move him or take a salary back. But what do you think can Ottawa get for Anderson?
I think if Ottawa trades Anderson and maybe another player or prospect that's not in their future plans, then they can get a second. I think otherwise you're getting like a conditional 3rd pick.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. I think it's a 3rd that can improve to a second. And let's just say this. I think a lot of teams are going to aim towards trading 2021 picks than 2020.
I agree.
Because, I mean, right now they know that 2020 is a great draft. You still really don't know what 2021 is going to be.
No.
And you can afford to be a little more flexible with a 2021 pick.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, if you feel like you're going to be in that top 45 this year and you already have an idea of what your board is, which I think they probably have a 50% idea,
right,
you're going to opt it for 2021.
Now, a team like Tampa, I think will trade a 2020 pick because remember, they have Vancouver's first from the JT Miller deal.
Right.
They will feel comfortable in trading their own first, and because they have Vancouver's pick. Or vice versa. I mean, if the team wants, whatever, like
Vancouver may go further, so we never know.
That's the thing. It's like the deal that the Sabres made. I think with Montour, whoever the lower of the two picks was, or whoever the higher of the two picks was, that was who got traded. But that Brisebois is probably going to make some sort of move to add something before the deadline.
Although he's done very little in free agency and deadlines and anything.
Right, but he didn't have to, even when the team was playing.
I disagree with that. To say he didn't have to, I'm going to disagree with, but he hasn't.
He hasn't. I mean, if he was going to, when the team was really struggling in the first half, it might have been the opportunity. But now this is your last chance to add something. Yeah, I mean, that might force him if there, if there's an injury or if he just feels.
Or to build depth. I mean, you have to have depth.
Yeah. Just couple comments in the chat and we'll go back to the list here. Julian in the chat, could San Jose include Melker Karlsson in a Brendan Dillon deal? I mean, it's possible
in a bigger deal, sure.
Yeah, I just wrote about this on the weekend. Karlsson's a $2 million cap hit. Dillon is 3.2. I mean, it'd have to be a team with a lot of cap space. Now, if it's a team like Colorado who's got a ton, maybe if they're looking for bottom six depth, and Karlsson is a good face-off guy. He's San Jose's best face-off guy. I think it was 57%, which is one of the best rate. It got to be one of the better face-off percentages in the league. If you need depth up the middle, Dillon, obviously provides quality depth on the blue line. But this going to that, okay, and I'm not taking.
Oh wait, I want to give an example. So let's say Philly's still in it, and they decide Gostisbehere is not in their future plans. Mm-hmm. San Jose would do that trade for Gostisbehere because they're getting term on Gostisbehere.
Right. So
they would do that. Now Philly would be, it would be an all or nothing for them, but they might be willing to do that too.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Dillon and Braun play together, so
yeah, that's true. But the thing is though, with San Jose, do you want to dig yourself even more of a long-term hole by spending, right now they're spending $26 million on Karlsson, Vlasic, and Burns.
That won't last forever. I think, they could trade Vlasic at some point or even buy him out if he's ineffective.
Wow. I mean, I don't know if he's heavy signing bonus or what.
I don't know either, but I'm just saying
he's got 7 years on that contract, and I mean,
it's down the road. He's not that bad.
Well, I mean, of the three, I think because he doesn't provide offense, he's the worst of the three. But he's got a no movement clause, and I'm looking at it's not heavy signing bonus. Like next year, he gets $5 million of his $7 million cap hit in bonus. But the rest of it is 2.5, something like that. So it's a little front loaded in terms of that, but still, I mean, right now, offensively, he's got 10 points in 53 games.
I mean, look, they could get a guy like Gostisbehere and they could shop him again. I mean, you never know.
Very possible. Now, okay, let's go to Dillon. We know that he's the hottest name along with Vatanen in terms of blue liners. I disagree with what Eck wrote, but he's only being told what he's being told that, so that's what he put out there. I do not think in any general manager's right mind they are trading a first round pick 2020, 2021, 2022. No freaking way anyone is trading. I'm sure Dillon is very sought after. He's big. He's tough. I think he probably would be a good penalty killer for teams.
Yeah.
And he's not right-handed. He's left-handed. I think that hurts his value a little bit, but teams need left-handed defensemen too. I think the best that San Jose gets for him is a conditional second that could be a first if that team wins the cup. But there's no way they're getting a first, period.
No, I agree. I mean, there's no way. I mean, why would someone do that? I know sometimes teams will surprise us with what they do, but I would be really bowled over shocked if that happens.
Yeah, and more than likely, San Jose is going to have to take something back in that deal because they're, if a team is up against the cap and they want to add Dylan, they're going to have to take if Toronto is interested in him, they may have to take Cody Ceci back.
Right.
Or if it's Tampa, they may have to take Braden Colburn back or somebody like that, Luke Shen or something to just open up some sort of space. Because
Luke Shen, because Colburn's actually doing well this year.
Yeah.
So Luke Shen would be the guy.
And he's making only $700,000, so it's a little bit of a shave off of what you do. Okay. Let's see. Sami Vatanen. We know Vatanen is probably going to go. He's right-handed, but as we talked about last week, he's not a tough defenseman. He's not a big defenseman. He's more of an offensive guy.
Yeah, a little soft.
Second power play, can move the puck. Again, I think it's second round and maybe a prospect.
Yeah.
You agree?
Second round prospect. Yeah, I actually think that's right, actually. I mean, I wouldn't give more for him. He's not a first-round guy because there's no term on there, and he's a little soft at times, so you kind of wonder what he'll give you in the playoffs. He's got a good shot. He certainly gets you some points. Second rounder and a C-level prospect, I think. Maybe you can get a B if it's a team that's loaded.
Bardicus asks in the chat about Kevin Lebesgue. Now, it was widely reported at the beginning of the year when he took that $1 million contract that was sort of like, okay, I'll help you out right now. I'll take the 1-year deal, but I've got they've got a new contract in the desk to sign him. Now, he's got 26 points in 53 games, 11 goals, 15 assists. He's a minus 23, but the Sharks are an unmitigated disaster. So I don't think that's going to, reflect any possibility of him getting a good contract. What has to be a concern is, will Doug Wilson be there to sign him today?
Right. If Wilson's not there, his agent might say, hey, listen, we're going for a much bigger contract for you, at least 3 or 4 years of security.
Right.
And so it does make you wonder, would he be available now? Because things have changed.
Right.
And it's possible.
We'll continue in a second here. I want to answer this question here. Caleb in the chat. Do you think the Pens would be willing to part with Poulin, Addison, or Laguerre in a trade? I don't think they would trade Addison.
No.
Addison.
Poulin, I think, is possible. Laguerre, possible.
Yeah, I mean, the one good thing for them is they've locked up Pedersen and they struck pay dirt on Marino.
Yeah.
They're not hurting as much as they were on defense a couple of years ago.
Right.
They have some flexibility if they want to trade defensemen in their organization, but they have big money and this is the thing, they have to look forward at who they're going to have to spend money on in a year or two. And Brian Rust is up. He's got 2 more years left, which might be one of the biggest bargains in the league at $3.5 million.
I've been telling you that for years, man.
Yeah, I know. But I don't think they're going to re-sign Justin Schultz.
I don't know about that.
Unless he takes less.
Which he might.
And here's the big key. Murray is a restricted free agent with arbitration, $3.75 million right now. Jerry is $675,000 in arbitration eligible. If they go to arbitration and settle, I think Murray's going to end up making $6 and Jerry's going to probably be making something like $3. Do they want to spend $9 million on goaltending? Can they spend $9 million on goaltending?
No, I don't think that's what they want to do. And, in regards to like Poulin and Laguerre, both those guys are big guys who already have pro bodies. So one of them is definitely susceptible, where Addison could be a second pairing defenseman. They're not messing with that.
Right. Ken Smith in the chat, what is the latest on Kapanen's availability? Okay, I mean,
I think it's better now that we know that he's had trouble getting to meetings on time.
Well,
I think that does help his availability.
Yes and no. I think that obviously, that was the chatter, and believe me,
they went out of their way to embarrass him on Hockey Night in Canada, Mike.
Yes, they did, and I think they were sending him a signal. It's like and I don't think that's a bad thing. Now, Keefe did the smart thing today and said this isn't that big of a deal, and he did his best to sort of disarm the situation. But the media were like, Kapanen tried to downplay it, and then he was asked and says, well, how are you going to deal with this? And deal with what? It's like, he overslept. I mean, I think this is probably an issue that's been on. I mean, he even admitted that he overslept a couple times when he was with the Marlies, and Keefe didn't even denied he remembered it. So I think they're going out of their way to protect him, but because it's obviously that when he was healthy scratched on Saturday, it was, oh my God, he's being traded.
Yeah.
And then he walked out of the Leafs room in the press box, and Hockey Night in Canada showed him on like he wasn't in the building. He was there. So
no, but they wanted all of that. The Leafs wanted all that. They knew exactly what was going to happen with that.
Yeah.
And because they're obviously not happy with him. For all we know, this could be a last straw situation. We don't really know.
Yeah, and Darren Drager reported this morning that, would the issues that are going on with Kapanen right now affect his value? He says absolutely not.
No, he's not valued.
In fact, when he was healthy scratched, he said that a Western Conference general manager contacted him and says, was he traded? So
yeah,
there's interest in him because he's fast, because he's talented, and he's got a lot of skill. Yep. Yeah. So do I think in terms of his availability, I think it depends on what teams offer. Everybody knows what the Leafs are looking for. The Leafs are looking for defensive help, preferably a right-handed defenseman. If they don't get that in an offer, they're not trading him until the summer. Then maybe something happens. But that's what they need, and that's what they're looking for. And if they don't get that, then they're not trading some of their young forwards.
True. No, I totally agree with you. But I do think they might entertain Kapanen to get a bigger piece, something term on it, to knowing that their defense could use a little boost for next year too.
Right, but Dubas came out and said, he didn't come out and hold a press conference. I'm sure he sent the signal through, some of the insiders in the league that, they'll trade somebody, but they want equal value back. And, like when you're saying Georgiev for Kapanen, that might be equal value in terms of like Georgiev possibly being a future number one, but that's not a deal that the Leafs can make. Because they have a goaltender for next year, and you don't need such a great backup that you're going to give up one of your better young forwards. So if it was a defenseman at the level of what Georgiev is as a goaltender, then that deal would be made already. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah. I've got some breaking news.
Go ahead.
So Mark Chiusano from Newsday put up some new information about Belmont. And it's really interesting because somebody did show me now that there is construction happening, but there's a lot of little things here. So as an example, if at some point night racing were to come to Belmont, which it hasn't been authorized by the state yet, right, but it could always be in the future.
Yeah, they allow harness racing, but not regular racing.
Right. It says that it would not be scheduled on the same evening as a hockey game. So, but the lease states that a non-hockey game could occur at the arena simultaneously with night racing, only if the two events put together wouldn't bring in more than 18,000 fans.
Now, would they be using
Hold on. So if you think about that, that sort of leaves the door open for an AHL team, right? Because they bring in less attendance. It's a not NHL crowd, and then you could couple that with the night racing, right? That's what that tells me.
Would that be using the same parking as as Belmont? I mean,
we're guessing. We don't know that. But remember, there was that whole LaFontaine project for an AHL team.
Yes.
And so maybe this sort of is putting that in there just in case. So then there's other things like the arena in the region saying the state can't provide land or substantial amounts of money towards any new indoor facility having a capacity of more than 10,000 that's within a 5-mile radius of Nassau County. So again, for the LaFontaine deal, an AHL team is possible. You could do that because it's less than 10,000. You could do less than 10,000 or ECHL.
Well, wasn't that the original plan for Nassau? It was to move an ECHL or AHL team there, and now
now maybe it'll be a completely new one, and I guess they're protecting themselves against that.
Yeah, but there's no solution there because what are they going to do? Continue to play at Nassau or continue to play at Barclays? I mean, that they can't play at Barclays anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, what a cluster F. I'm sorry.
It even says these prohibitive yeah, thank you, are so specific that there's no impact on major properties across the area, including, the Nassau hub, which is going to be like the shopping area, the Ronkonkoma hub, City Field, Aqueduct, all of which are outside of that 5-mile radius. So that's a key thing.
I'm sure they probably want to remember the whole Lighthouse project was not only a building, it was condos, it was a mall, it was like a whole thing. I'm sure they probably want to develop real estate with the I mean, I don't know if that's been part of it but I'm assuming that would be part of the whole plan.
All right, so here's another one. So it says that the arena should be substantially completed by October 5th, 2021.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that's
the opening of that's the opening of the 21-22 season.
Yes, that's the hope, but I think that's very flowery. We'll see if that if that actually holds true. Now here's another one. The lease required the developers to pay $20 million to the state as of November 7, 2019, a payment that Empire State officials confirmed was received. The developers then will have to pay an additional $20 million as November 7th, 2020, and another $10 in 2021. The developers will make rent payments of $2.24 million annually, so for 29 years. Wow. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, very.
Financing plans there's 2 loans, a $540 million building loan mortgage and a $60 million project loan mortgage, or both are being Bank of America. That's not a big deal, but so there's some interesting things there. So they've spelled out a lot of things, and there's a lot of money floating in this. But they did make that first payment, so that means the Wilpons check did finally get in there.
Yeah, well, they got the
money out of Cespedes, they put it right into that,
or they got the money out of the guy who bought it. Who was it? Steve Cohen. They got the money out of him. So there you go. It didn't bounce. If they got the money out of Bernie Madoff, they'd have been.
Yeah.
Okay. Nabil had a question here. The 2020 draft isn't great. It's overhyped early on. Like every other draft, Corey Prominent and Mark Edwards are calling the draft average to even weak after the top 7 or 8 picks. I
agree.
Yeah, I have not heard that. I'm not a draft expert. I just read everything about the drafts, including Russ's top 31 for.
Yeah, I'll talk about that just for a minute.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I think that that prevailing opinion is out there probably because it's Lafreniere and Byfield is the distance between Lafreniere and Byfield is wide, but the quality of the top 10, I haven't heard anybody complain about them.
No, me neither. I'm going to give you a good example. So, Connor Zary, who I have ranked 11th, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just got to see him play. Definitely a play-driving centerman, and he's got good speed. He's already 6 foot, 181 pounds. He right now has 65 points in 43 games, 31 goals.
Mm.
If you're going to tell me that you wouldn't be thrilled to get him in 9, 10, 11, or 12, come on, man.
Right. Bardicus asks, will anybody make a trade to boost their AHL team's chances of winning a Calder Cup? Yeah, teams will do that, but those are not big moves because they don't count against the cap. I mean, most of the contracts down there are trading $700,000 player for $700,000 player. I mean, so I mean, you could see those moves being made, but those are the ones that are going to sort of be under the radar, and you'll see them like at 5:00 on the 24th and say, well, when the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Well, let's just go back to that list for a second here, just to finish off that. I'm pulling up the rumor chart here. So we talked about Anderson, Dillon, Kovalchuk, Vatanen, JG Pageau. Now, I talked to somebody on Saturday, and they said that it's 50-50 whether he gets traded or not. But I think that's that might be true right now. But again, I don't see the Senators spending the type of money it's going to take to get Pageau under a long-term deal when they can offer him the same kind of money in the summer. And they can get, I mean, this is a center market that is extremely thin. And when you have a guy who's had a career-high 20 goals and he's a pesky guy who can kill penalties and, is working pretty well offensively, and he can play the wing if need be.
I mean, really, how is he not getting traded?
Yeah, I mean, consider the blueprint that was laid down by the Senators and Pierre Dorian last year. They traded everything that wasn't nailed down.
Right.
And if you look, they've got Hainsey, they've got DeMello, they've got Borviesky, who I've heard probably re-signs there because I don't think anybody wants him for anything more than just a veteran rental who's a tough guy. You've got Nemestikov, you've got Pageau. I mean, I don't think they're getting anything for Bodker or some of those guys, but they've got Tyler Ennis probably could get him. Okay, Tyler Ennis, I think gets him a fourth or fifth round pick.
Mm-hmm.
But Pageau, what do you think they get for Pageau?
I think if a team has 2 first-rounders, they can get a first-rounder, and then I think they could get an A or a B prospect depending on what position and what that team is and how good their system is.
So and I don't think this is the case because Tampa is loaded up the middle, but say it was Tampa. So then you're talking about one of their 2 first-round picks and a Taylor Radish or a Volkov or Mitchell Stevens or Matthew Joseph, somebody like that.
Yeah, I just want to hold the Matthew Joseph thought for one point.
Yep.
So as an example, and I really try not to look at anybody else's lists. Craig Button's got Conazeri 10th.
Okay.
And I have him 11, right? So the team would be thrilled to get him. Okay.
Yep.
That's somebody else's opinion.
Okay.
Besides me.
But I think Pageau. Well, okay. Well, we didn't talk about this. Chris Kreider was injured against the Red Wings. It was a knee to the side of his head from his own teammate. The reports after the game said that he was, he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad off, and I guess they were just making sure that everything was fine. I mean, the Rangers. It's a possible windfall to trade Kreider before the deadline because he's clearly the best forward out there. So they're going to be careful in terms of, injury and making sure he's okay. But what do you I mean, I think we've just firmly established that we think he's going to get traded.
Yeah, I think he's going to get traded. I'm sorry. I'm fighting with Anthony on messaging here. What did they say he's hurt or not hurt?
No, after the game, the response from
no, I know, but is he playing like next game tonight?
I don't know. I just know
he's day to day. I don't think he's playing.
Right. I think they're going to be careful. I think especially because it could be a concussion, and they don't want to rush him back in the lineup. As long as he gets back a couple weeks before, as long as he gets back next week and plays 2 weeks before the deadline, I think that'll prove he's healthy. The question
we're assuming he will, and I think they haven't been negotiating. We haven't heard anything. I don't think they're all of a sudden going to come up with a contract this quick because he's a guy that's going to fetch a good salary next year.
Right.
So,
Now, do you agree with the?
yeah.
Do you agree with the chatter that the return for him will be as good or better than what they got from Kevin Hayes?
And what was Hayes? It was
the 20th pick in the first round from Winnipeg, plus Brendan Lemieux, who I would have considered a B prospect.
yeah, I think it will be slightly better than that. Even though Hayes is center, I think, and I don't know if it'll be a 20th pick or 25th pick,
Right.
but I think that you could squeeze like another 5th rounder or something else in there to round it out.
Yeah, Thomas in the chat says he's a game time decision tonight. If he's a game time decision, I bet you they sit him out.
Yeah, no, they're sitting him out. I don't think he's going to play the next couple. I really don't.
And Bardicus says he's never scored more than 53 points. He doesn't get the hype. He's big. He's fast.
And he has scored 30 goals.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a great rental market, but he is. I mean, he's a difference maker. Put him on.
He's had good playoff numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I love this.
Ask Harry Price what he thinks of him.
Yeah. Creepy Robsta. When your organization can't spell players' names right, yeah, Eichel sees no future in Buffalo. Okay.
What happened with this? What's going on?
Okay, this is what happened. A caller to a Buffalo radio station last week after the Sabres had lost to Montreal bemoaned not only the organization and how bad they have been, but the fact that for one of the nights celebrating, the 50-year anniversary, they've had 70s night, they've had 80s night. For 80s night, apparently they didn't get the jerseys right, and they didn't get the spelling of some of the names right. I think there was Mike Robitaille was misspelled for 70s night. Andrew Chuck was misspelled for. That's
outsourced work. That has nothing to do with the team.
Right? Maybe but it's inexcusable. I mean, if honestly. Now, apparently, like I was there for 70s night, and our somebody we bumped into many times, Rick Dudley, the assistant GM of Carolina, almost broke his neck slipping on the ice because they put down the rug on the freshly flooded ice.
Poor Duds. I'm glad.
He maintained after it has a nice balance there. He says, "Yeah, I still got it." I'm like, "Okay."
He's a great guy. He really is.
He's a fantastic guy. But the complaint right now is that it's not just the team on the ice. It's game ops. It's the cleanliness of the building. It's like you're talking about, I mean, we know Buffalo's not a big city, but it's a great hockey market. Yeah. And they want this team to not only act like it's a great hockey market, but have a team that is conducive to a great hockey market. And they really are not. And we talked about it a couple days ago. How long before Eichel gets, it's just like the McDavid argument. How long will it be before these players get pissed off and say, "Get me the bleep out of here"?
It does sometimes it affects the whole organization. I want to say, what was it like the year after the lockout when the Flyers were like in last place?
Right.
Not only did they give us ice cream in the press box, which they never do, so you knew they were trying to smooth it over. Basically, the morale was so bad. Like, even when you walked in the building, the guys, the ticket rippers, the security guys, everybody was down.
Right.
And that does happen, right? And you're seeing that now. And so that's a hard thing to break, because that's like, it's a feeling now. It's more than just players. It's more than just wins and losses. Now it's a feeling. And so you have to change something, to get everybody sort of peppy and feeling good again. That's a big job.
All right, one more name, and then we'll take a couple questions. Because I think Tyler Toffoli is going to get traded.
Yes, I would say he is a certainty.
Yeah. Oh, well, by the way, one other point, and I for the '90s night, no Hasek, no LaFontaine, no McGillney. For '70s night, no Gilbert Perreault.
Wow.
Now. Perreault's I believe he's in his 70s because he was.
Gilbert Perreault, I guarantee
he's been in Buffalo before for events. So
I guarantee you he's in really good shape. Unless he has some sort of really bad health illness that I've not heard of, Gilbert Perreault, I guarantee you, would be fine.
And they did the 90s night during the World Junior. So Hasek was probably in the Czech Republic being like a representative of Czech hockey. So
Yeah.
you could schedule it better to have, like, I mean, LaFontaine's never coming back to Buffalo, never doing anything for Pegula because of what happened a few years ago when he was named general manager.
Rene Robert, was he there?
Yes, for 70s night. Yeah, Don Luce was there. I think Craig Ramsey. No, Craig Ramsey wasn't there because he's assistant coach somewhere.
I will tell you this, and again, we know Rick Martin's no longer around, but that line is very tight. And so if Gilbert Perreault wasn't there and Rene Robert was there, Perreault probably had something he couldn't get out of, or he was sick or something, because those guys stick together like glue.
Right. But the thing is, I mean, you would think that the most important guy from your leading goal scorer in the history of the organization, you do it the day he is available. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So Tyler Toffoli is going to get traded. I think.
Was Danny Gare there?
Yes.
Okay.
Schoenfeld was there.
Well, of course, Schoenfeld was there. He was there for the donuts.
What do you think the Kings get for Tyler Toffoli?
A king's ransom, Mike. No, I think Tyler Toffoli can bring you like a second and a third if it's a team that has extra picks and really needs that scoring oomph. Because let's not underrate what this guy is. I mean, he is a proven scorer in the NHL. He can go right on your power play. He's got playoff experience. He's got cup experience. Yeah. So to me, he's the third best offensive player that's available. But he might be even more valuable than some of the other guys because he's a winner too.
Yeah, Kreider, Peugeot.
He's, in a way, like I get Peugeot as a center.
Yeah.
But it's possible that, somebody goes after Toffoli over Peugeot because of previous experience.
Yeah, couple quick questions here. Thomas says, I would like Kreider on the Islanders, but they have to wait till the summer for that.
That's true.
No way the Rangers trade him to the Islanders. No.
There's a 0% chance of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll resume tomorrow. We'll be doing our 1:00 show. We will have Kevin Allen on the show and Eck. And there are a number of games tonight. I think it's 3.
No, it's only a few. Tomorrow it's loaded.
Yeah, tomorrow is the one that's everybody's coming back from the bye week. The big game obviously is Florida, Toronto, the battle for third place in the Atlantic Division. Sasha Barkov is out of the lineup. He got hurt on Saturday. So that's a big loss for them, but it's not impossible that Florida could still win that game. So the Leafs can't.
No, I mean, they're talented.
Yes, and the other games on the schedule are Stars and Rangers and MSG.
Yeah, Kudobin's playing against the Rangers, which again, now that the Rangers don't look like they're going to make the playoffs, that's going to happen a lot.
And I'm assuming since Lundqvist started against Detroit that they're probably going to play either Georgiev or Shesterkin. So
right.
And the other game is the Flyers with a victory over the Detroit Red Wings.
Oh, you're already predicting victory?
Yes.
Is it in Detroit?
It's in Detroit.
I got to look up the record on that. Flyers record in Detroit, I think, is nearly infallible lately.
Well, it's just that Detroit is so bad. I'm sorry.
I know.
They're just really a bad team. So I just can't see the Flyers. I mean, remember, the Flyers are in a race right now. So I just can't see.
Hang on, I got it right here.
Yeah, well, Earl in the chat says Toffoli, bet the Kings keep him. That would be idiotic. No, they're trading him, unless they're even if they're getting undersold or if they're being lowballed.
Yeah,
trading them.
Yeah, the last win, November 19th, was a 6-1 win. February 7th, well, that was a home game. February 17th, they won 3-1. Yeah, they're a 4-game winning streak against them, it looks like.
Okay. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the